The League Cup semi-finals are set, but what did we learn from the weekend's action? I'm Iona Ballantyne, and this is the Scottish Football Podcast. All the news, views and analysis you need on Monday the 22nd of September.
Miovski's first Rangers goal makes it Rangers 2, Hibernian 0.
Ibrox fan fury came to the boil throughout Rangers' game with Hibs, but has Russell Martin earned some respite? What next for Hibs? Are they starting to falter? Jimmy Thelin is under increasing pressure as the Dons drop out of the Cup.
Motherwell did more than we did to deserve it, so that's really disappointing for everyone.
And is it time for Brendan Rodgers' Celtic side to click into gear again? And just how important is Stephen Robinson to his informed Saints?
Send St Mirren through in the semi-finals. He does! St Mirren are going to Hampden!
And are Dundee showing signs of life now under Steven Pressley?
The Scottish Football Podcast from BBC Sports Scotland.
Well, joining me for this one, Cammy and Cillian Sheridan. Cillian, I'm going to start with you. Quite a broad question, but how would you sum up the weekend?
Yeah, it's probably pivotal for different teams. For probably starting off in the league, Dundee was a massive win. I think that would have been a tough one to take, especially being 2 goals up. So massive for them to get that win for Steven Pressley, which he would have been dying for. He was been under pressure as soon as he was announced. So like winning a game like that in the last minute always kind of adds to it a little bit. And then in terms of the cup games, it was some great games. The St Mirren game, and great result for Motherwell getting into it as well. But yeah, probably if you were to ask maybe, I think Jimmy Thelin, he's probably the only person probably coming out of it in the worst place, I would say.
We will get into that further on in the podcast. Cammy, what about you? What's your biggest talking point going into the week ahead?
I would say the pressure that's on Jimmy Thelin at Aberdeen. I think it's ramped up massively with that defeat to Motherwell in the Cup. It's a real damaging one for me. If they'd managed to get through that, I think that the pressure would have certainly have been taken off Jimmy Thelin a little bit, but that's just ramped up, and they've got such difficult fixtures coming up. So yeah, I think that's a big talking point. The Rangers situation's a huge talking point as well. The protest, them going on and winning, it had to be Nico Raskin getting that goal as well. So yeah, there's absolutely loads of talking points in Scottish football as always.
As always, Cammy, we'll get into it. But just to recap, League Cup holders Celtic will face Rangers in the semi-finals of this season's competition as Motherwell take on St Mirren. Now, let's start with Rangers. They beat Hibs 2-0. It was relatively comfortable. Was that the first proper Russell Martin performance of the season, Cammy?
I think it was an improvement. I was a little bit disappointed with Hibs, so taking nothing away from Rangers. It was a big performance with a lot of noise around about it. We know about the protest before the game. The players would have knew about the criticism that was coming their way during the week. Yes, and it certainly looked like a little bit of a more front-footed performance for me, for Rangers. They were more in control of the game for periods. Hibs again had opportunities. They just didn't take them at the right times and probably allowed Rangers to go and get them goals at the right time. But listen, it was all about getting the result for Rangers, all about getting into the next round of the Cup, and that was just to dampen down all the noise that's been around Rangers for the past week and just allows Russell Martin to breathe for a little bit. I'm not saying the pressure's off him, it's absolutely not, but it allows him to breathe, it allows him to reset and try and go again, because he's got huge fixtures coming up. He needs to go on a really good run to turn this around.
How long can he breathe for, Cillian? Is it too far gone for him to win back the fans?
I don't think so. I think the fans have made us pretty clear, and they seem pretty determined, I think, to keep up the pressure and to keep up the protests. It's a weird game probably for a lot of Rangers fans going into, because they're like, if you kind of got the sense that if Hibs had have won that game and Rangers are knocked out, then it was kind of like, well, surely like that's the end of it. Then they're getting their wishes. So it's probably a weird situation for fans to be in, where it's like, great, the team won, but is that going against what they want? Does that kind of fuel the board to kind of back them and to be like, right, well, maybe there is some progress here, which I think at the end of the day, that's how the fans should be. I think, like, you should want the team to be doing well if it means you're going to be wrong. If it means you're wrong about him as a manager and continuing on, so be it, like, for the betterment of the team and the club.
So much has been said. It's obviously one of the biggest talking points of the last week. But Cammy, how does he win the fans back now?
Just by winning games, Iona. I think he's got to do that. He's got to go on a tremendous run. Again, he's got a difficult game to navigate his way through, away to Livingston in the league. I mean, the problem is the league. Fans are still, they're just getting a little bit of joy from that Hibs win, but then they'll look at the league table, they're sitting 11th in the league table. That is unthinkable for Rangers Football Club and their fans. So yeah, I think the frustration certainly won't go away. It's going to take a period of time and a period of winning, consistent winning. He can't afford another slip up at all. He can't afford a draw. He's got to win games of football, and it's got to happen from here on in. So it's a big ask, but I think Cillian's right that, listen, some of the fans would have wanted to go there on Saturday and probably wanted Rangers to be knocked out of the cup, and then the manager will be moved on. But the club have clearly made their stance that they're backing him. They think he's the man for the future. And listen, you want to see your club progress. So all Rangers fans will be excited about that Old Firm game coming up in the League Cup draw. But he's certainly got to go on a big run now.
Nico Raskin back in the team, back on the score sheet. Cillian, can he ever drop him again?
No, I think based on the fact that he brought him back into the team, I don't think there was any doubt in his qualities and what he brings to the team. Obviously, something has gone on besides all of that, because I think it's hard to argue otherwise. So I think the fact that he's been willing to bring him back into the team is obviously he's performed, scored the goal, involved in the second goal. So I feel like he's done what he was probably everyone was screaming out for, that he's justified. Like, it's almost as if that's like Russell Martin wasn't helping himself in the eyes of a lot of fans, I think, in terms of like just get over it, drop whatever issue the two of you had. And I think from what it looks like from the outside, it seems as if things have been patched up, or else Russell Martin realised that, look, I'm at the stage where I kind of have to put myself and my feelings or my ego to one side and probably make the most of one of my better players.
And the fans obviously happy with him back on the pitch and getting Rangers that goal. But if we move on to Hibernian, they've been praised a lot this season, but do seem to be stuttering now. Cammy, what is going wrong at the moment?
I think when you break it down, you look at the goals that they're losing, Iona, they're poor goals to be losing. Again, David Gray will be really frustrated with. We all know Nico Raskin is a threat at set pieces, but we all know how small he is as well. But it's one that you were identified before the game that he is a key threat for Rangers. He scores quite a few headers, so he'll be frustrated losing a goal at a set piece. And then obviously the second goal's well avoidable as well, a couple of opportunities to clear the ball. So yeah, I just feel as if they've got a very good squad. It's not just quite clicking with regards to results. And I think it will. Don't be wrong, I think they'll turn the corner pretty quickly. I think they've got a very, very good squad. And again, you look at the chances they had against Rangers. If Martin Boyle puts that header in, again, there was the disallowed goal, which was rightly disallowed, but there was moments in that game that it could have easily have flipped and went Hibs' way, and it just didn't. They need to be ruthless at the top end of the pitch, but also they need to start keeping more clean sheets.
Cillian, do they just kind of need to distance themselves from their European exploits and get back to the team that we saw at the end of last season?
Yeah, I think that's it. It can kind of go against you when you have a start like that kind of ends in almost like this glorious failure where they harshly didn't qualify, but are getting praised for all their performances and qualifying against it through some of the rounds, to then go from that. Although I know at the end of it they haven't qualified, but there was still the high of everyone was saying like they were probably the best performing Scottish team in the European games. And it's always hard when you're up there to then kind of get yourself going again for the league. But kind of to what Cammy was saying there, I do think they'll come through it. They've got a good squad. I think they've recruited really well, signed good players, and I do think they'll get out of it. They went through a much worse patch last season and came out of that flying. So I think they've got the benefit of they can always look back on that during any bad times this season and kind of be like, well, it can't be any worse than what we went through last season. So I think as a squad they've probably grown. Individually, David Gray will have learned a lot about them as well and how to handle these times. But I'm pretty confident in them kind of getting back to how they were for the second half of last season.
There is still a long way to go in the season, but Aberdeen, they're out of the League Cup, bottom of the Premiership. They've only beaten Morton this season. The fans now seem to be turning on Jimmy Thelin, Cammy. Is that understandable?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you break it down further than this season as well, and you look at last season's form. Yes, they had the Scottish Cup victory, which again has got them a lot of credit in the bank, and had a huge amount of praise from the Aberdeen fans for winning that. But you look before that, again, they went on a really poor run. They obviously had an unbelievable start to the season, and then they hit a really bad bit of form, and they never really recovered. And they still haven't shown any of that sort of form they showed the start of last season for a long period now. So yes, he's got to be under pressure. He's got to feel the pressure from the fans because it's just not been good enough. They've lost games at home, especially at Pittodrie. We just think Falkirk recently as well, teams that have just came up. And then that's a damaging result against Motherwell. Motherwell are a good team. Don't take anything away from Motherwell. But at Pittodrie, they would expect to go and get through to the semi-finals of a cup. And they didn't do that. They're not scoring goals. They don't even look like scoring goals. And that is a major issue. I think they hit the bar a couple of times, but they were under pressure a lot in that game against Motherwell, and yeah, it's just not been good enough. So he's got to be feeling the pressure, and he's got two huge games coming up in this week anyways.
And that's the thing, Cillian. I mean, they've won just 5 times in the 31 Premiership matches they have played since early November last year. You can't shy away from that. For Aberdeen, that is not good enough.
No, of course not, and I'd assume he knows that as well. The club have invested in terms of getting players, recruiting players, paying fees. They're expecting a lot more. I would expect. I think he probably got away with the really strong start they had last season, and that carried him so much through to the end of the season. And then at the end of the season, he goes and wins the cup, which kind of carries him another little bit. But I think I don't know how long he can keep kind of doing one good thing followed by so much like negative stuff. It's just, I think he's under a lot of pressure. I think that that cup win was massive for them. To be honest, look, at the end of the day, they won it. I don't think they deserved to win it. They didn't play particularly great in the final, but it doesn't matter. They still won it. They won a final. They won a cup. But I think at the minute they're in a bit of trouble.
Is it unfair to say the cup kind of papered over the cracks at that point?
No, I think everyone kind of was saying that. I think it'd be hard for Aberdeen to argue that. You can't say that they finished the season playing brilliantly and you would have expected them to win that game. I think a lot of that final was more so down to Celtic's performance. But like I said, they went, and a final is there to be won, and they won it, so you can't take anything away from them in that regard. But I do think they've severely underperformed so far this season anyway.
I mean, that's the thing, Cammy. It's a talented squad. They're good recruitment in the summer. Why is it not working?
I think there'll be a severe lack of confidence there, but you're right, Iona, that the recruitment was excellent in the summer. I think the players they've brought in are top quality, as Cillian said. They're spending fees, the owner's backing the manager. He obviously believes he's the man to take the club forward, because he wouldn't have given him so much funds. But I just feel as if there'll be a real lack of confidence. They look a little bit disjointed the way they're playing as well at the moment. They're not creating a lot of opportunities. And yeah, you can't really put your finger on it what it is with Aberdeen at this moment, because when you look at the squad on paper, you look at their starting team, then it's a very, very strong team. So it's interesting, and it's got to change pretty quickly, or he's going to find himself under severe pressure and potentially lose his job.
I hate to say it, Cillian, but a bit of team bonding maybe needed.
Yeah, well, I think they know what not to do now, or to keep everything under wraps. But look, I'd imagine it's been done already. It just hasn't got out yet.
Yeah, there wasn't anyone there to photograph it at Loch Lomond. No,
he mustn't be under that amount of pressure if the team bonding has.
The North Sea is a bit colder than Loch Lomond, is it not?
I agree. It definitely is. But I mean, the thing is, when you're at the bottom of the table, it's tough to push your way back up to where they want to be. I know it's so early in the season. Should they be fearing a relegation battle at this point when you see what's happening at the moment?
I think no matter what stage or how good of a club you think you are, or how good of a team you think you are, your league position doesn't lie. You can't be bottom of the table and 6 or 7 games go by and you're bottom of the table and you just think, oh, we'll get out of it, and then eventually it's another 6 or 7 games and you're still round about there. There's no the other teams around about there have been getting better. Teams who would have been down there, Motherwell this season, who you might have thought could have been dragged into that. They're a much better team this season. The other teams in or around there are starting to get Dundee get a big win that could give them a bit of confidence. So I think Aberdeen need to get themselves out of it sooner rather than later, or it just keeps carrying on into the next game. Confidence just gets worse and worse. But look, I think the players and the manager know that they're not taking their position for granted at all. I think they know how important getting out of that part of the table is.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, Cammy, they've then got European football to contend with too, and we know what that does to teams who aren't performing well in the league. Yeah,
it heaps on even more pressure. We know that the pressures of Thursday, Sunday games, especially with our Scottish teams, with tight squads. You look at Aberdeen's squad, it's a decent squad, but when you're playing these high-level opposition, I think they play Shakhtar Donetsk in the next couple of weeks, which is a tough game to have. Their next 2 league games for me are really difficult. Dundee United away, and then you're away to Motherwell on Saturday night. So it's a massive, massive week for Jimmy Thelin. I really do think he needs to win one of them games, and they're not easy games, because Dundee United, I've seen them this season, an improved side. I think Jim Goodwin's recruited really well there. A lot of the players that he's brought in have hit the ground running, so they're a tough team to beat, especially at Tannadice. And then we've seen how good Motherwell are, and especially they're going to be at home on Saturday night. So they're 2 tough league fixtures for Jimmy Thelin to face this week. And I think if he doesn't get any results, I think the fans will be asking huge questions of the board of the direction of the club and the way they're going, because they certainly would be rock bottom by that point as well.
Now we move on to Celtic, the ease past Partick Thistle. Cillian, are they back to their best under Brendan Rodgers?
Yeah, I watched the game today and they looked like more like the Celtic of old. Surface didn't look like it suited them massively, but I thought that they handled it well. Tnetke again looks like a really, really good player, and he seems to have a good understanding with Kieran Tierney, and I really like him. He's looks like quite a clever player as well. Like, he knows when to play a pass, when to lay it off to someone else. He's not trying to do it all himself. Probably just if you're being super critical, perhaps final ball, he probably could have had himself a few more goals and assists. But he looks to be a real positive light out of that transfer window that I think most Celtic supporters don't really want to talk about. But definitely today they looked as good as they have in the last few weeks.
Well, off the pitch, what about your thoughts on further protests aimed at the board?
Yeah, fans have been quite vocal in what they think. I think it's hard to argue about the transfer window that just was. I think the board are probably, I don't think anyone can be more happy than the board at how well Tunetki has been. They really needed a new signing to really be like a shining light of from the transfer window. But at the minute, it doesn't. I think they were probably hoping that if the team keep winning and keep playing well, it kind of gets forgotten about, and that doesn't seem to be the case. I don't think it's going to die down anytime soon. I think Celtic fans are pretty adamant that we're going to continue and we want change. So again, we're talking about fans again protesting. It's but two very contrasting positions, I think.
Yeah, very contrasting. Because just looking at the numbers, I mean, Celtic went into the summer transfer window with 77.3 million of cash assets, having posted a profit of 33.9 million after tax in the year ending on the 30th of June. Cammy, will fan protests at the boards still dominate regardless of their performances on the pitch?
Yeah, listen, listen. First and foremost, Celtic are a well-run football club. Financially, they run their business very, very well. But the frustration is that the fans were probably looking to kick on with regards to the Champions League, and Brendan Rodgers made that clear when they got beat by Bayern that he wanted to progress in the Champions League, which means investment in his team to try and take on the big giants of European football. It didn't happen. Obviously, the disappointment of getting put out of the Champions League has still festered away with the fans. They've not been happy with the transfer window, and rightly so. I think the transfer window and the board have acknowledged that things didn't go the way they wanted to. The timing of bids and offers that they put in wasn't right, and they didn't get the players they wanted to bring into the club. So I think it will continue. I don't think it'll go away. Yes, listen, see if Celtic keep winning on the pitch, then it sort of dampens everything down a little bit, but I still feel as if the fans will vent their frustration at the board and let them know that they want this club to progress, they want money to be spent and invested in the team, and so does the manager as well, because he's been quite clear about that he wants investment in the team, he wants the team to progress and be better. So it'll be interesting in the next few weeks ahead.
Well, back in European action this coming week against Red Star, would a win during the week kind of show they're back to where they can be, where they want to be? Yeah, I think they could. And again, when you look, it's a big match for them, because again today you expected them to go and beat Partick Thistle. It was a game that, yes, it could have been a sticky tie, but as Cillian said, I think they performed really well. They played with an intensity. They looked back to the old Celtic that we've seen. But listen, it's a completely different test this week for them in European football. So it'll be interesting to see how they get on. It's a big match. I think if they can navigate their way through, get the performance that certainly the team's got in there, because they've got very, very good players at the club. So if they can bring that out onto the pitch, then I think they'll be fine and they'll get through that tie. But they're always difficult, these ties in Europe, and it's a big game for Brendan Rodgers and his team. Well, moving on, 3 back-to-back top 6 finishes, European football for the first time in a generation, and a trip to Hampden for the first time in 4 years. Cillian, who am I talking about?
I would imagine Stephen Robinson's St Mirren. Attractive player team St Mirren.
Exactly. Fans very happy with how things are going there.
Yeah, definitely, and why not? I think he's everything about him. I think you can kind of see in the way the team plays and the way the players play for him. Having seen him on the sideline up close, he's really animated. He's involved in everything, and you can see that just comes across in how the players take it on and go out and play. I think he is St Mirren at the minute. I think players might not want to hear that, but I just feel like if he loses a player, he'll find another one who just fits into his style of play, there's no real superstars in the team. It's a real hard-working team that I would imagine other teams hate playing against. And then it was nice to see them score some nice, attractive goals at the weekend.
Yeah, things certainly going well in Paisley. And just looking at the top flight this weekend, Dundee secured their first Scottish Premiership win of the season after a dramatic finale as Callum Jones' penalty deep into stoppage time denied Livingston a point after a heroic comeback. Cammy, a controversial ending though. David Martindale wasn't happy with how that
No, he
went.
certainly wasn't, and he was very vocal in his interview after the game that he wasn't happy the way the games went. I think there's been a number of decisions have went against Livingston this season, and he's frustrated. And again, you can understand it because there's been quite a lot of poor decisions recently around the whole league and with regards to VAR. So yes, of course, he'll be frustrated losing a last-minute goal that's controversial, and also when his team had done so much to get back into that game, 2-0 down, they managed to get back to 2-2, and it's a real killer blow when you lose that goal in the last minute. But such a big goal for Dundee, a huge goal, because again the noises were there for Steven Pressley. A lot of fans didn't want him to come to the club when he first got appointed, but it's a big win, that, because again I think it just breeds confidence in the team, and it almost will just allow them to continue on and see where they go with their season, because I think it's going to be an interesting season for Dundee, because I think they can pick up points at home. I think they've got a good enough team, and with Simon Murray in your team, you've always got goals.
That's the thing, Dundee are showing good signs of life now under Steven Pressley, Cillian.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like I was saying at the start, I think it's a massive win for them, and especially in the manner that they get it. Last minute wins always feel so much better. They bring they lift the moods. Like the mood in there after the game would be so much higher than if they'd won the game comfortably 2-0, as weird as that might sound. The dressing room would have been a lot more boisterous, and everyone's still, the adrenaline is still pumping way after the game. So I think a win like that is massive for them, and they really needed it, because the fact that they were able to jump so many places in the table. I know it's only by maybe a point or two, and it could change next week, but for now it makes a lot better reading for them during the week until their next game. And now, instead of looking at trying to get out of or not be 10th or 11th, they know now if they go and win their next game, there's a chance for them to climb even higher, which a few weeks ago you probably never would have thought.
Exactly, a good change for Dundee there. Well, that is all we've got time for. Many thanks to Cillian, Sheridan and Cammy Bell, and thank you for listening. Remember, we're here with new episodes of the Scottish Football Podcast bright and early every day, so to make sure you don't miss out, subscribe on BBC Sounds and have push notifications turned on in your phone. It is only Monday. Who knows what the rest of the week will throw at us in the wonderful world of Scottish football. Bye for now.
For everything you need to know about your team this season, download the BBC Sport app. All the latest news, goal updates, stats and scores, and insight and analysis. Just select your club to get the biggest stories and best content at your fingertips. What a result. Download the BBC Sport app for everything you need to know about your team this season.